All right. The next movie on our list, Eurotrip. Jude, take it away.
2004 Eurotrip, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 32 minutes. This had a budget of $25 million. What do you think this brought in?
78 million.
Thomas?
I have no idea.
I said 80 for Road Trip. I don't think this did as well.
We underestimated Road Trip.
Yeah, I don't think this did as well as Road Trip. So I'm gonna throw 75 out there. Sounds okay to me.
Okay. This actually lost money. It made 22.6 million.
Yeah,
so.
it was not popular.
it?
It was not popular. No.
But it's so good.
No, it's my least favorite out of these three.
This is
I
my
don't like
favorite.
This is amazing.
I don't like
Dude,
this movie.
Scottie doesn't know?
Yeah, that's like the best part, and it's uncredited and awesome. Yeah.
Freaking Matt Damon shows up.
It's the first 10 minutes, and it's all downhill for me after that. The stupid green fairy.
It's wholeheartedly disagree with you.
Miss Scusi. Okay. Great.
You were surprisingly good at that. You've done that to people, haven't you?
Oh, I've seen this movie before. I've quoted movies at people my whole life, man.
He just gets onto a bus somewhere, excuse-y, and takes his fucking pants off.
Just keep rubbing them shoulders.
Excuse-y. Excuse. That's all he says.
Katish almost lost it.
Katish just freaking belly laughing right now.
Swallow, babe. You gotta
swallow your soda, bud.
It's gonna come out his nose in a second. I know.
He's still switching cameras.
He's still working.
He's still working. He's got. Are you good, bud?
Caught me mid-drink. I'll just like spit it out over or spit some equipment here.
Oh my God.
You're crying. Oh, it happened.
It happened. We got Katish. Yay. God, man. That's amazing. What's excuse-y?
It's just Tom doing
The shoulder rub. That's the best part.
because I remember that scene. And he's
You can totally picture Tom doing it.
then he's like, oh, excuse me. And he's like,
It's Fred Armisen, right?
Yeah, Fred Armisen.
Who I love.
He's great.
Oh, he's so funny in this movie.
But yeah, the mime, it all. I do not like. It sucks.
Come on,
He's
bro.
just trying to feed his robot family.
It sucks.
Oh, my robot balls.
Error. Come on.
Do you want to know what it's about?
Kinda. Yeah, go ahead.
Robots and shit.
Scottie doesn't know that his really cool pal, Mike, is actually a really hot girl named Mieke. When his girlfriend dumps him for being boring and predictable, Scottie spontaneously decides to travel to Berlin and to Mieke, who now that we know has a vagina is perfect for him. Scottie and his best friend Cooper go to Europe as couriers, and the first stop is England, where they make friends with some soccer hooligans at the Feisty Goat. After a wild night of partying with Manchester United's biggest fans, they awake the next morning on a bus headed for Paris, where they meet up with their friends who are also on a Eurotrip. The four decide to head to Berlin together to see Europe along the way. Next stop, the nude beach at Krans-Samur and the International House of Sausage Fest. With the nude beach being a bust, the group heads to Amsterdam and split up for the night. Cooper heads to Wandersex. Jenny and Scottie go get some magical Dutch brownies, and Jamie gets blown and robbed in an alley. Nobody's night goes as planned, and now that their money is gone, the group hitchhikes to Bratislava, where the $1.83 they pulled together gets them the finest of everything Eastern Europe has to offer. They indulge in several bottles of absinthe and another wild night of partying. The next morning, they hitch another ride and finally make it to Berlin, only to find out Mieke is in Rome. After selling his camera, Jamie gets enough money for the group to make one last trip. The four make it to Rome for a final life-changing adventure. Scottie finally finds Mieke. Jamie gets a job with a travel company, and Jenny and Cooper realize they came all this way to have crazy European sex with each other. Discuss.
This is a great movie. I don't know
I
what
love
you're
this
talking
movie.
about.
This is one of my favorite movies.
It's awesome.
I know every line of this movie.
I know a lot of. It's not where I park my car.
I had a dog that I named Fiona because of this movie.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fiona's freaking smoking hot.
Look, if I want to watch a European trash movie, I'm going to watch Beer Fest and enjoy it 10,000 times more.
You think Beer Fest is better than this movie?
Oh, yeah.
You're nuts.
Oh, Beer Fest is the best Broken Lizard movie, and it's better than this.
Super Troopers is the
Super
best.
Troopers is the
The
best.
first half of Super Troopers is great. That second half falls apart horribly. And Super Troopers 2 is the worst thing
I
I've
haven't
ever
seen that one yet.
Don't ever.
I don't want to. It would have ruined my love of Super Troopers.
It's worse than Boondock Saints 2, which is also a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's a tragedy too.
Yeah, I
Don't
agree.
watch either one of those. But
No.
yeah, Beer Fest blows us away for me with like the funny Europeans and all that. Okay, Beer Fest beats it 100% for me. I do not like this movie. That being said, there are hot chicks in it. And
Lots of boobs.
they are on location a lot, which is fun if you like to travel. And there is the greatest cameo of all time.
Yeah.
With Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Oh, Matt Damon's
It's the
cameo,
greatest
yeah.
cameo. It's uncredited.
Dude, that song is
Dude.
incredible.
Oh, I know
It's
people.
so catchy.
I know people who have that song downloaded on their playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the story behind Matt Damon's cameo?
I don't. Can you tell me? I'm
Sure.
fascinated.
So basically, there were 3 writers and directors on this movie. So the writers are Alec Berg, David Mandel, and Jeff Schaefer. Only one of them, Jeff Schaefer, is credited as the director for union reasons. But they all 3 wrote and directed this. And they were friends from Harvard College, where they all went to college together. And it just so happened that Matt Damon went to college with them. And so like they were old college buddies.
Wait, Matt Damon actually went to Harvard?
Yeah.
Not just in that one movie?
No, that was a true story.
Apparently, yeah.
I noticed you said Harvard College, not Harvard University. Is
Ooh.
there 2 different?
Oh.
No, it's whatever Harvard's in Boston.
It's like I found Penn and Penn State are not the same thing.
So anyway, basically they were old friends with Matt Damon. And around the time they were shooting this, almost filmed entirely in Prague. So every time you see Ohio, every time you see like a different European city or country, it's all just Prague dressed up in a different way. And during the time that this movie was being shot there in Europe, the Gulf War was going on and the SARS outbreak happened.
Oh, Jesus.
And
Wait,
so
what?
Yeah, and so it was really hard to get people to come from like the States out to do like guest spots and stuff like that. And so one day they were talking with Matt Damon on the phone, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in Prague because I'm shooting The Brothers Grimm." And they're like, "Wait, you're in Prague?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We're in Prague. Why don't you come out and do like a little guest spot on our movie?" And he was like, "Okay." So like they only had him for like one night because like he was basically leaving the production of The Brothers Grimm to come out and hang out with his buddies here. And so like they had him for like 4 hours, and he came out and he was wearing a wig for Brothers Grimm anyway. So he's like, "Tell you what, I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to come out as like a punk rocker and I'm going to sing this song." And so like he shaved his head and he like got all that shit on his face, and then like he went up on
Painted
stage.
his fingernails.
Yeah, he went up on stage, and for like they shot him for 4 hours, and then he had to bail and go back to like the Brothers Grimm.
It really
Grimm
is the
production.
greatest cameo of all time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was just like out of the blue, you know, and it was all because like he was already there in Prague, and it just worked out that way, and it's pretty funny.
It is.
It is really funny.
It's probably the best gag in the whole movie.
That's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
the best
Well,
gag.
also
and
that,
it's
that song.
Scottie doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday.
Oh, that
Scottie-
song is
Scottie Hilarious.
so damn catchy.
And
so
I
damn
love
good.
how the song follows them.
Oh, yeah. They
Through
end
the
up-
whole adventure.
They end up in like freaking Kazakhstan or something,
it's
and like
Bratislava.
Bratislava, Wondersex.
No one from Brazil or from Berlin will ever find me in Bratislava.
Oh, he's going to Berlin, guys.
What did he say? Said he's driving.
Yeah,
Something.
we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
No,
but
it's
like,
just-
like there's this random nightclub that's singing like a house version of Scottie Doesn't
Yeah.
Know.
It's very catchy.
It is
It
extremely
very
catchy. And
But just like the lyrics, like if you just listen to the lyrics,
it's so
funny.
good. Scottie doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. He thinks she's at church, still she's on her knees, and Scottie doesn't know. Like it's
And
just
I think Kristen Kruick, is that her name? So like,
Lois Lane from Smallville.
Lana Lang.
Lana Lang, sorry.
So like, you know, I think that she had just finished her time at Smallville when this movie started shooting.
Wait, what year are we talking about? You're talking about Gulf
2000
War, and that was like 92,
2004, I
man.
think.
No.
No, so like Eurotrip came out in 2004, and it was probably shot in 2003.
Yeah.
So around that time, anything that anyone had ever seen Kristen Kruick in before had just been this like very family friendly Superman CW show.
Uh-huh.
And then like she's up here in this like sex comedy. And I think she was trying to break into like edgier stuff. Like
Yeah.
she eventually did like that weird Street Fighter movie and stuff like that. But to see her in this and she's like really,
grinding up against Matt Damon.
yeah, she's really sexing it up, and she's
I
like
mean,
this
she doesn't
cheating
even
girlfriend.
get naked though. It's just the connotation around her
Well, he's
character.
like the sexiest little, what is it? The
Sex kitten.
freakiest little sex puppet I know. Like, yeah.
Well, it's funny when she's talking with Scottie, and she's just like, I'm just so sick and tired of all the lies and the cheating. He's like, I've never lied or cheated to you, and she's like, okay,
yeah.
And she's like, I know. That's what
That's
I'm so
what I'm
sick of.
Yeah. I'm sick of lying to you about cheating on you.
I have to say that this is one of my all-time favorite movies. No matter how often I watch this movie,
It's funny every time.
It's funny every time.
It's funny every time, and it's one of the most quotable movies that I think I've ever seen. Like the whole Miscuse thing. Miscuse. The whole Scottie doesn't know.
The robot scene.
Yes.
Oh, I love the robot fight scene. It was hilarious, dude.
Yeah. So let's talk about the robot fight scene.
So they're waiting. So they get to. They're in Paris, correct? Yeah, they're in Paris.
They're waiting in
They're
line
waiting
for the Louvre.
For the Louvre, and they're like, let's go on an adventure, and they stand in line, and it's just like this ridiculously long line to the
They're
Louvre.
like, do you guys want to stand in line at the,
At the-
Eiffel Tower
yeah.
too?
They're just talking trash about Paris, and there's this like I don't know street performer, I guess we get those in Vegas all the time, but he's dressed up like a freaking robot, and he's doing his little thing, and Scottie walks over to him and he starts mimicking him to make fun of his friends and to kind of like goof around a little bit, and somebody drops some money in his hat instead of the robot's hat, and the robot's like, bitch,
You
this
are
is-
not a real robot.
Yeah, not the real robot. This
he
is my
gets all
corner.
jealous, yeah.
He gets all jealous, and they start doing like this fake, like weirdly choreographed fight scene, and then it starts getting real, and they start actually hitting each other, and then Scottie just nails this dude right in the nuts.
But the fight scene, it's like straight from the Matrix, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're doing crazy like kung fu moves.
and they're still doing the robot thing while they're fighting. It's
And making
goofy.
the sound effects.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and it ends with Scottie kicking him in the balls, and the robot falls to the ground. He's like, "Ow, my robot balls!"
Error. You didn't think any of that was funny?
It's fine.
Oh, what about the part where he pisses on his brother's robe? It's like right after the big party, he goes home and he's in the bathroom, and you hear the camera shot is of his bathroom with a toilet open, and you just hear somebody peeing. And I don't know if it's like doesn't click in your head. You're like, wait, there's somebody peeing, but the toilet's not being used.
Look, I'm not saying you guys are wrong and it's not funny. I don't like this movie.
Okay.
I get it.
You're killing the vibe, man. I'm gonna go talk to Jude over here.
I want to talk about the character Cooper for just a minute.
Yeah,
so,
go for it.
So the actor who plays Cooper is Jacob Pitts, and I know him from Justified, where he played like one of the U.S. Marshals opposite Timothy Olyphant. And so like to see like a younger version of him in here, and he's kind of like the styles or the shades, you know, like from Teen Wolf. And basically, you know, he has that line where every time like he tries to hit on a girl and it gets him in an awkward situation, he's like, this isn't where I parked my car.
Right.
And he does this thing where like he goes to Europe with Scottie to be his wingman. But at the same time, he doesn't want to quit his summer job because he wants the money.
Yeah.
And so he just pretends that he's down in the file room at this law office the entire time. And every time his boss calls him, he's like, yeah, I'm still looking for that file. And eventually at the end of the movie, he gets this other guy fired and gets a promotion because like he was lying.
He threw him under the bus. His boss called like, why haven't I got this report yet? And he's like, oh, I gave it to Kurskinski a minute ago. Why didn't he deliver it to you?
He's like, I gave it to Humphreys yesterday.
Yeah.
I handed it to him myself.
What did he say? Like humbug or something like that?
Wait, what?
He said
says
some
that's hogwash.
Hogwash, that's
Yeah.
what it was. He's like, that's hogwash. I gave it to him yesterday. And at the end of the movie, like you said, like that dude got fired because he lied to him.
And he got his office.
And he's like, did they fire you? He's like, no, they gave me a promotion and they gave me this guy's office.
And the great thing is like Cooper's whole motivation for going on this trip is because he wants to experience crazy European sex. And the entire time, we also have Michelle Trachtenberg as part of the group, and he's always kind of like treating her like a dude, and she's always like, I'm a girl, and he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But throughout the course of the movie, like he starts to be like, oh, like she is a girl. So like there's that budding romance there, but there's a scene where they're in Amsterdam, and he decides to go and visit a sex club.
Wondersex.
Yeah,
Wondersex.
red light district.
Yeah.
Wondersex.
Yeah, run-
Also says I get a free T-shirt with this flyer.
Yeah. He gets that t-shirt though.
And the sex club is run by Lucy Lawless. And she basically says, if the ecstasy ever becomes too much, you need to use this safe word. And it's this long German word that they write down so he doesn't know how to pronounce it.
It's like Frugerschlor or something like that. It's like
Did you say Flugelhammer? And he's like,
yes.
For the love of God. She's like, very well. And it's worse.
Yeah.
It's something worse. He's like,
they're basically torturing Cooper. And there are these two guys who are like...
Who wants to go to this club if you know what it is?
There are these two guys in like black leather, like, S&M outfits.
Yeah, well, they're aprons. They're black leather aprons.
Yeah, and the characters' names they never say it in the movie.
Gruber.
Yeah, their names are Hans and Gruber.
The bad guy from Die Hard. But yeah, he says the safe word, but he mispronounces it, and it makes things even worse. They like raise his freaking bed up, and they pull out this like catastrophe of a gun with like four separate dildos on it, and it's
got a laser.
Yeah, an aiming laser.
He just sits there and they shove it. Oh my God, dude. It gets real weird. And you're watching, you're like, and then he comes out the next day, he's like barely walking straight. And
But he's got his Von der Sex
he's got the Von der Sex
on.
t-shirt on. Like they gave him the t-shirt after he left.
Yeah, let's talk about the train scene with Fred Armisen.
No.
The creepy
I want to
Italian.
keep talking about this night because they split up and they each have three very different experiences. And Jamie is like, oh, I'll go to the sex club with you. And Cooper's like, fine, I'll go by myself.
Yeah.
And he just pieces out. Well, Jamie's like, all right, I guess I'll just go get my camera cleaned. And he ends up hooking up with this girl who really likes cameras.
Yeah.
He just goes to like the camera shop and he's like, oh, I need something for my camera. And can you clean it for me too? And she's like, wow, I was about to go have a cigarette. Would you like to join me? And he's like, oh, I don't smoke. She's like, neither do I. She's like, I'm going to smoke that dick. And she's like blowing him in this alley and he gets robbed.
By
And
what's the actor's
I
name?
forget his name.
Diedrich Badger.
Yes, Diedrich Badger shows up with a terrible European accent.
Yeah. Come on, come on.
And I pointed out to Jude, I'm like, that's the guy, two chicks at the same time.
Yeah, that's
Office
freaking the good
Space.
for Office Space, man.
Yeah. And so while he's the robber comes up behind him and the girl's in front of him.
Yeah.
So the robber's like, give me your money. And he like takes off his like
Money belt
his
wallet
money
thing.
belt. But he's telling her, take it all.
Yeah.
And he's handing it to the robber.
And the robber's sitting there like really weirded out how into this robbery this guy's in. He's like, take it all, you dirty girl. And the guy's behind him like, okay.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Oh God, it was so bananas.
Scottie and Jenny want to go get like hash
Hot, yeah, they
brownies.
wanna get hash
But they
brownies.
end up just going to like a Dutch bakery and thinking that they're high, but they're not. And then
Yeah.
they freak out. Like,
He starts taking his shirt off and then
Now put your clothes back on, white boy.
stupid Americans.
yeah.
We got to talk about Manchester United and the
Oi!
was it the
Oi!
Grumpy Goat?
Yeah.
The feisty goat.
Feisty Goat.
Goat.
I freaking love that actor who plays
Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, he's so freaking good at everything.
I'm
he's in.
amazed how much you three enjoy this movie.
Tom.
I'm like over here like Pong, just like watching it goes like back and forth, and they're all so excited. I'm like, yeah, I guess it was funny.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking
Let's
about.
talk about the second best song in this movie,
My
which is
baby.
the Manchester United football team's theme song.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Pretty damn good.
And I love that he like opens the two beer bottles with this eye socket.
Yeah. Just pops it open and hands it to him.
Yeah, so they go into this pub, and it turns out that it's a pub for like the local Manchester United soccer hooligans, and they're all like very intimidating. And so like they're like, oh, we're from the U.S. chapter of Manchester United fan club, and they're like, oh yeah, well, sing the Manchester United song to prove it.
Yeah.
And
He just makes it up on the fly. And it's a rendition of it's a famous song. What
My
is
baby
it?
takes the morning train.
Yeah. That. Yeah.
and it turns out that happens to be their official theme song.
They're all like playing it on the piano in the bar. And then I love the next morning when they wake up and Cecil's just, before you lick me yobbles. And he's just like saying nonsense words.
and then he's sitting
Cooper's
there-
like, you guys are on a totally different level of swearing
Yeah.
here.
Totally.
And what's great is Vinnie Jones's character, who plays like the captain of like the Manchester United fan club. He has this thing where like he hates Italians. like just hates them and just has nothing good to say about Italians.
Carries brass knuckles on him wherever he goes in case he sees an Italian.
And throughout the movie,
Just in case.
throughout the movie, the Italians are always the ones that are the creepiest, like weirdest people.
Yeah, this movie is not kind to Italian people.
Oh, mi scusi.
Scusi. Oh, we keep quoting that part of the movie. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. We're ready now.
All right, so they get into this train. I can't remember where they're going from, but they're going from point A to point B, and they get on this train to go along. And they're sitting in this little tiny cab, and it's a seat across from each other, and they're looking at each other. And then the Italian dude who he's a SNL
Paul Armisen.
Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen.
Whatever it is.
Portlandia.
SNL guy. Portlandia,
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation. He played the Venezuelan guy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cook fish too dark, go straight to jail.
yeah.
That guy.
Or undercooked jail.
Jail. So he shows up and he knocks on the door and he goes, "Oh, scusi," and that's like the only thing he says to these people. But he sits down and he's super
He also
touchy.
says, si.
No, see.
And it's kind of like one of those funny things where like Europeans don't have like the same concept of personal space as
Yes.
Americans. So,
Right.
like they get really close to people.
Yeah.
And at first you just think like, oh, like he's just like someone who's like, doesn't have this concept of personal space. But then every time they go through a tunnel and it goes dark, he starts doing stuff that's like
takes off his
overtly
pants.
sexual. Yeah.
Yeah, he takes off his pants.
Well, it starts off with like he just puts his hand on Jamie's knee, exposed knee. And as they go through more tunnels, he starts getting a little bit more aggressive with like each time. And
I've been there, by the way.
and every time they kind of call out like his weird behavior, he's always like, "Oh, mi scusi."
And then they like overreact. No, I don't even know if they would overreact. They just freaked out. They freak out. They're like, "Oh my God." They start yelling and screaming and like jumping over each other to get farther away from him.
And when they come up to like a long tunnel, they're like, "Oh no, it's a long tunnel." And that cuts to Fred Armisen. And he's just like got the creepiest look in his face where he's like, "Yeah."
It's his face, and then the hall goes dark, and then you just hear them freaking scramble.
And when they come out, he's like in his underwear with smoking a cigarette. He's like, "Oh, mi scusi."
Scusi. The best part too is they kick him out of their cab, right? Somehow they get him out of there. He's not wearing any pants. He goes down one car length or one room length, and he goes down and knocks on the door, "Oh, scusi," and he walks in.
This is what he does.
It's so creepy.
He's a serial molester. You think
Yes.
this is funny? This
Yeah,
is
this
funny
is-
to you?
What's great about this,
Molestation is funny?
what's great about this movie is every single scene in this movie has an absolutely hilarious bit to it. Like the nude beach scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the International House of Sausage
yeah.
Fest.
And it's kind of funny because like that. So originally Jamie wants to go to this like statue that's like
the monument.
famous for it in town,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all like, "Oh, that's lame. Let's go to this nude beach." And it turns out that like that time of year, all the hot women go to
All of the
sunbathe
nude
naked.
women are at the monument
at the
because it's very
monument.
moving.
And the typical nude beach is just full of dudes hoping to see naked chicks. And it was kind of funny because like the day that they shot that scene, it was like one of the coldest days of the year. And that's one of the reasons why everyone's wiener is like so shriveled in that scene. How
do you know that?
I read an interview with like the directors where they were talking about it. So how I learned about
It's
He
it.
just went over the screen with a magnifying glass and he was like, "Oh, yes, I see."
That is a small dick.
Small deek.
I was on a shrinkage blog page.
George Costanza runs it.
But we got to talk about Bratislava.
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 Oh, is that that's like the?
It's good you came in summer because in the winter it can be quite depressing.
It's just like the shittiest place ever.
So like they accidentally catch a ride to really like war-torn Eastern Europe, very poor, and they have like $1.37 to their name.
$1.83.
$1.83. And basically because they're in Eastern Europe, that $1.83 is like $1 billion worth of value. And so like they go to like a 5-star hotel, and at the time Scottie like tips one of the waiters like a nickel.
And he slaps his boss. And he's like, "You see this? I'm going to start my own hotel."
Yeah, he's like, "A nickel? I quit." It's like more money than he's ever seen in his life.
What's great about that bit too is like after you're like, "Oh man, they must have spent all their money to get all this freaking stuff." It's a joke. It cost they had like 87 cents left over.
Yeah, they all got suits made.
Yeah. They went full Dumb and Dumber for that moment where they went to the hotel. It's a good bit.
But every scene in this movie has something funny. Like even when like probably like the least funny scene is when they finally get to Germany and Scottie's talking to Mieke's father. But the entire time that's going on, where they're just exchanging kind of like information about where she's going, his son gets like a Hitler mustache from like,
ink or something
ink, and he starts like marching
doing
around,
the goose stepping across the background, and they're just having a straight conversation because they don't see him, I guess. I don't know, and they're like,
Cooper sees him.
Cooper's freaking out,
trying to get Scotty's attention, and Scotty's like,
stop bothering me. I'm talking to somebody right now, and he's just sitting there going, oh my god, what is this kid doing?
Yeah, well, we're in Berlin.
Yeah, do you want to talk about Michelle Trachtenberg at all? Because she's like a Buffy alumni, and this was like I think her first big movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was.
Did she go topless in this movie?
No.
I don't think she did.
There is a cutout scene though of them hitchhiking, and she flashes, but it's from the back.
Okay,
Yeah, and nobody stops because they're not impressed.
Yeah, they're like, Jenny, you have to do something weird. This is Europe. Like just flashing cars isn't gonna cut it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I love every minute of this movie.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I see this movie, like I crack up every single time, even though I know what's coming. It's just it's
great. It's one of those comedies that like doesn't get old for me. I'm with Kadish. I laugh every time. And when they're in freaking Kazakhstan or whatever the crap they ended up in,
Bratislava.
Bratislava, and they were at that nightclub, and the twins got drunk and started making out.
Yeah, so Jenny and Jamie are twins, and there's like a running joke through the movie that they're the worst twins ever because they don't like. He is always getting her the wrong drink. She's like, I hate gin. And they're like, oh, you guys are the worst.
About each other.
Well, then they end up all getting smashed on absinthe, and the two twins end up like eating each other's faces.
Yeah. And
there's a cutout scene, I think it's in the director's cut, where the next day when Cooper's giving him a hard time about it, he's like, oh, relax. It's not like you guys fucked. And they both go like have an oh shit face, and Cooper's like, did you guys fuck?
It's so crazy.
Yeah, like this is legit one of Juden Mine's all-time favorite
I used to have mail motherfucker as my text alert.
She really did. Like every time we out to eat, all of a sudden you just hear this mail motherfucker from her phone.
Okay, male motherfucker was a big good takeaway from this because that was special. Male motherfucker was special. Yeah, you're right.
So when this movie came out, I was at the movies with a girlfriend of mine when I lived in Ohio.
Okay.
And she's a girl, and she has a twin brother who's a boy, obviously. And so we saw the trailer for this, and they play the part where he's like, you made out with your sister, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's gross. Because I hadn't seen the movie yet. And the girl that I was with cracked the fuck up. She was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. And I was like, Kim, you have a twin brother, right? And she was like, oh, fuck. Never mind. And I think of her every time I see that.
Oh, man. It was a good bit.
Yeah. This movie, I've seen it half a dozen times, I think. And it's never fails to entertain me.
Yeah.
Like I love this movie so much.
And even when it starts to slow down a little bit, when they go to Rome, I think they hit the brakes real hard when they go to Rome. But even that part where they go into the Pope's like office or whatever and like accidentally
his, like, apartment.
Like light the place on fire or something like that. Everybody thinks the Pope's dead. He comes out and he's all in his freaking Pope hat and everything. It's just funny, dude. It's hilarious. And then the best sex scene is finally when Scottie hangs out with Mieke and they're in the confession booth and they're banging. And this little old Italian lady comes in and starts confessing that she cheated.
Father, for I have sinned.
I cheated on my husband, and all you see is an ass print up against the freaking thing. Come on, bro. It's freaking hilarious.
It's great.
It's
great.
I can't even look at you.
It's all just pandering, slapstick nonsense humor. Ugh. There's not one highbrow joke in the whole movie.
I think this movie is way funnier than Road Trip was.
I do. I
way
agree.
Funnier.
I agree.
It came out at a different time. I was a little older when this came out. It didn't hit me like
to hold your nose up at it like that. It's not high enough humor for me.
No, thank you.
I've aged 4 years. I can't be bothered.
Yeah. Well, but
allow
also,
me to fill my pipe while I discuss this with
also,
you.
it wasn't a theatrical success. I mean, people didn't go see this movie. This is one of the ones you're talking about where it's down the road. VHS was, or DVD or whatever was. Yeah. That's how this movie caught on because nobody saw this movie.
I guess not.
I did.
I didn't go to the theater. I didn't go see it.
I did.
He's the one guy.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice like every time someone was reading a book in this movie, it was the same book?
The Jackie Collins book?
Yeah, it was a Jackie Collins book called Sinners. And the reason that everyone's reading that book is it's the only one the production could get legal clearance to use. So they just kept reusing it the entire time.
That's funny.
Yeah, other than the Fromer's Guide, like that's the only other book in this movie.
All right, Jude, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
Oh, this is one of my favorite movies. And in the realm of sex comedies, this is a 5-star movie for me.
A 5-star?
Yeah,
Holy
this
shit.
is 5 Scottie Doesn't Knows out of
Nice.
5 Scottie Doesn't Knows.
Okay, wow.
It's 5 robots, 5 Eurotrips,
I dig it. That's
5 confessional booth sexes.
Tom, you just broke Tom. Okay, just give it a rating.
I agree with my lovely lady here. This is a 5-star movie for me.
Whoa.
I absolutely adore this
I
movie.
love it.
This is 5 robot balls out of 5. So, like seriously, like every time I watch this movie, I laugh just as hard as the first time I watched it. It's fantastic. We quote it constantly.
I
with
could
one
watch it
another.
again right now.
We are watching it right now.
Jude actually, like while we're watching this, she will from memory just say the lines. It's kind of annoying because
I know. I'm
she's,
hard to watch movies with.
she's saying it right in my ear, but like she knows this movie like backwards and forwards. It's crazy, but yeah, I love this film.
I feel like Scottie Doesn't Know should be my new karaoke song.
Oh, it's a great song. I'm gonna say I like this movie a lot, but I have to leave room for Sex Drive because that's my top billing for this week. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. It's funny every time. I have not gotten sick of this movie. I've watched it dozens of times, and it's good every time. And the grotesque amount of boobs, and also schlong. It's equal footing. You know what I mean? Like they give equal time to both, which I can appreciate.
Little tit for tat.
Little tit for tat on this movie.
I
Yeah.
love that scene where Cooper's in the hot tub and he keeps telling us like, "Oh, you got a little something."
Oh,
on
that
here."
gir's so dumb.
She's so
Oh, man.
stupid.
Yeah, that scene was just
It's like-
going on. I was just watching it. I didn't even know you guys were talking about all this. This movie is pretty good. Very symmetrical.
It's like sap or something. And It's
Yeah.
right there. You
right
might have
on
to
your
lick
boob,
it. And
yeah.
like, yeah. So freaking ridiculous. I don't even think we'll be able to show half
This
of the
isn't
freaking
where I parked my car.
All right, man. Give it your salty nerd rating.
It's a 2.5.
2.5. Okay, middle of the road.
It's 2.5. It's like I said, it's not a bad. I just don't. It's not for me.
Okay.
I don't like it. None of these people are famous. None of them go on to do anything after this movie. It's a theatrical bomb. I think it's all boners and dick jokes and gross out humor. I don't think there's anything here redeeming for me. If I had to choose between these 3 movies, I'd choose to watch this one last.
Okay.
Or never again. It's fine.
Okay.
You listening to you guys and how much you enjoy it didn't change me at all.
Excuse it.
It's fine, but even that, like the few things that really stand out, like male motherfucker, is probably the funniest thing that came out of this.
Weirdest thing you could have taken away from this.
Oh, I forgot that was like part of this movie. I'm like, oh man, that was probably the funniest thing that came out of this movie.
Male
It's like,
Male
this
motherfucker.
was a 2-star movie before I remembered about male motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I'm not joking. Well, between that and the cameo, because I honestly, I've been trying to think about a better and especially an uncredited cameo. There's not a lot.
Brad Pitt does some comedy cameos once in a while. He was in like
Yes.
Deadpool and stuff like
Yes.
that. But this
And-
was
Yeah, but I remember when I saw this in the theater and Matt Damon just shows
You
up
don't even
out of nowhere,
recognize him.
and everyone was like, "Is that Matt
Yeah,
Damon?"
is that Matt Damon?
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Dean Cain?
In the very same light.
Yeah.
Yes, in the very same light. Yeah. It's fine. It doesn't do anything for me. I've seen it a few times. It's fine. It's funny. It's just, it's not my favorite. And out of these 3, it's my least favorite.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.